welcome to the July 16th Board of Education meeting. June, thank you, I'm ahead of myself. We can't do that because it'd be skipping graduation, wouldn't we? Yeah. June 16th, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's great to have everyone here, and we do our most important business first, and that is our student and staff spotlight. So I'll turn over to Joe and Jeremy.
Thank you. So we're excited this evening to recognize our students and our student athletes, and ask Mr. Campolita to come on up as well. And we're going to begin first with girls track and field. So if Coach Gallagher, Ross, and Petrelli, if you're here, I know I saw two of you, right? Come up and join us. So we're excited this evening to recognize first Leah Bahamonde. Leah competed in the discus and it was our Section 3 champion and competed in the New York State Championships this past weekend. She placed 4th overall and set a new school record, which was her previously owned record from the sectional championship. So the school record now stands at 117 feet 4 inches. Congratulations. Next we have Cam Barton. Come on up here. So Cam won the 800 meter Section 3 championship, and she also won the 2,000 meter steeplechase. At the state meet, Cam placed 6th in the New York State and 7th in the Federation. She also set a new school record at 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 10.4 seconds. So, outstanding job. Next, I'm going to ask Mr. Campolita to introduce our girls 4x400 meter team, right? And they competed in the New York State Championship. They placed 15th overall. So,
yes, if we could have Emerson Clavillo, Emmy Buchanan, Anaya Johnson, Mariah LeGros, and Aviana Francisco.
This is our spring 2025 girls track and field champions. Congratulations.
All right, everyone, right here. And then one more, please.
Parents, if you'd like to get a photo, please come on up front.
Hold on one second, double. There we go. Thank you.
Moving on to boys track and field, I will ask Coach Spicer, Coach Scuderi, and Coach Boudreau to here. We will first start off with the pole vault, Doug Clark. So Douglas was the Section 3 champion in the pole vault. He competed in the New York State Championships. He vaulted 12 feet 6 inches, placing 14th in Class A and 33rd in the Federation. Congratulations, Doug. London Primo. London competed in the pentathlon, won the section championships in that event, and then he competed in the state championships. He was 6th in New York State Class A with 3,101 points and 14th in the Federation. Congratulations. Next we have Dominic Dodolo. Dominic was our Section 3 champion in the 1,600 meter run. Competed in the state championships this past weekend, and he placed 17th overall in Class A and 54th in the Federation. Congratulations to all of our boys track and field athletes.
Yeah, getting parents coming up and take a photo if you want to.
Does she need a job? Moving on to boys tennis. Coach Maestri? You're here. We're going to ask Mason Doan and Ethan Haar to come on down. Both Mason and Ethan were our Section 3 champions for boys tennis in the doubles. They competed in the state competition as well. Congratulations. Last but certainly not least, we have our crew team, Coach Ludden and Agnew, if you're here. So we're excited this evening to recognize our varsity crew team who competed in the SRAA National Championships, and we're certainly proud of all of the boats that competed, and Chris is going to announce all of the students.
So first up for the senior four, Delaney Hitchcock, Julia Hay, Aaron Seitzer, Emily Calkins, and Josephine Butler. For the senior eight, Alyssa White, Amelia Leonardo, Kyrie Rodriguez, Hollis Doran, Gabriella Imeo, Vivian Canella, Lindsay Barnhart, Natalie Pietricola, Piper Myers, Abby Roth, Alana Pearson. And for the lightweight four, Bailey Pietricola, Emma Hassane, Grace Fortune, Sage Primo, and Kalia Valentine.
Congrats.
I'm actually gonna have a couple of you just kind of come forward and. Yeah. Yeah, oh, there you go, thank you. You guys know what to do. All right, big smiles, ladies and gentlemen.
thanks to the coaches and to the parents who have supported all during this time. So with that, we are going to get into our workshop, which is a very interesting discussion of board goals. However, if you have better things to do, you are excused. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, yes. Thank you.
They didn't know shirts.
Your successor. So I did jump ahead just a little bit because at this time we'd like to introduce and have a little chat with our future board ex officio member. And Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
So we could have Megan DeMarco, if you want to come up here
Jen,
to the
come on.
table just for a minute with Ms. Turpinning. We won't keep you long. But we're certainly excited to have you join the board at the reorganizational meeting on July 14th. And we're excited to have you represent our student body over the course of the 25-26 school years. So it's certainly exciting. You've got a great person there. Hopefully you've watched what she's done over the last year, and big shoes to fill, but we're excited about having you here.
Yeah, very much so. Anything you'd like to say at this time?
I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm very excited to be able to speak with all of you guys and see what you guys all talk about and bring figures with you.
Bring your student opinions to the table, please, yeah. And of course, you do know that on the website, you can see recordings of all the meetings, so you can watch some of Evie's excellent reports, to give you an idea. And just, if you have questions, we all have, on the website, you could email any of us, and we'd be glad to call you, talk to you, whatever. And of course, I know that Mrs. Turpinning will have good advice for you, but please, you're very welcome. We're really happy to have you at the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody, any thoughts, questions, anybody?
Welcome. And would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what kinds of things do you do at school, and what are you interested in?
I do sports all year round, so I do cross country and then indoor and outdoor track. I'm also part of senior council, and I love all of my school events, and I love all my classmates. And I do other things outside of school as well. I like to read, I like to bake, that sort of thing.
Want to go around?
Yeah, sure.
I'm Wayne Davison. I'm starting my second term on the board next year. My son graduated in 2022, and I've just kind of been sticking around to stay involved in the community. So I like to bake too, so we'll have to share some recipes.
Welcome, my name's Luke. Just starting my third year on the board. My son goes to Van Buren, I enjoy everything about the district. My daughter was also at Van Buren as well, and I enjoy sampling and tasting all of the baking that you folks like to do. So, but welcome.
I'm Christy Pavetto. I'm starting my second term, I guess, most recent term on the board, and had a son that went to Baker several years ago. I love to read as well, so would be happy to have any recommendations.
I'm Tom Bold. This is, I think, I got appointed a while back, and Jeremy did, and then I ran from that. I've been doing this for a little bit, but I'm pretty much in my second term. I'm a college professor at Syracuse University, so I'm definitely going to talk to you about what you want to do next in life, because I love having that dialogue, and I think it's a terrific thing that you're doing to give of your time. I always think about like your CVs when your resumes when you're applying to colleges. So this is a great opportunity for you to contribute, but also get some really great experiences. So welcome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam Shraven. This is going to start my second term next month. I was a former employee of Baker, and I love Baker. I love the district, but I love Baker. I have two daughters that graduated from Baker, and I also love to bake, so I'm talking to you.
My name's Manfred Miller, and I would say this is a fantastic opportunity. I would take advantage of it, and anything that you want to learn or that you might not be as confident in, this is the place for you to get better at it. Especially since there's a room full of really talented people in all sorts of aspects of life. So if you get to know them personally, they can help you in wherever you want to go in the future.
Well, I think this is a great thing, all the student board members.
Mike?
Oh. I was gonna say, I think this is a great thing to have students on board with us, and all the student board members we've had since I can remember bringing student board members have been just great. They contribute so much to the discussion and help to really focus the perspective decisions being made.
And Dave is the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources.
Hi, I'm Carrie Lamacchia. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. This is, I think, my 19th year in the district, second year in this position today on the board, and can't wait to hear all the reports you make, because it's definitely a fun part of the meeting to listen to.
Hi, welcome. I'm Tiffany Turner, Assistant Superintendent for Management Services. I also serve as the board district clerk. So you'll be seeing me take minutes and meeting notes, as well as assist with setting up the room and things like that. If you have any questions with getting into board docs, we'll be in touch and we'll get you set up on your phone.
Hi Megan, my name's Renee Burnett and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction here in the district. So my one question for you is, do you prefer Megan or do you like Meg?
People call me both. When I get close to people, they start calling me Meg, and I do like that more.
You like Meg?
Yeah.
I have a Meg and she prefers Meg too, so I wanted to ask. Thank you and welcome.
Hi, Meg. Welcome to the board. I'm Don Miller. I'm moving into my third year on the board. I'm the guy who asks the strange questions, mostly for self-entertainment purposes, but sometimes we get some good information out of it. I'm also Evie's dad, so I know where she is at college. If you need any, kind of private conversation, a little bit of background, inside information, I can hook you up.
I'm Joe Barber, Superintendent.
And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself before. Victor Jenkins, and I was on the board before for actually 4 terms, and then went off for a while and came back a couple years ago. So I'm just completing my second year. Actually, would be my 5th term, I guess. But we're happy to have you here. It's interesting that this year, New York State has required all school districts to have a student board rep. We have been doing it since 2011 or 12, I think. When we heard about the idea and thought it was a great idea. So I think that just ought to speak to how welcoming we are to student opinion. But look forward to having you.
So I've been on the board as long as Tom, however long that is. I graduated from Beeville in the early 90s, and then you have 2 kids that have graduated, and another one in your class, Nathan Callie, will be a senior, and I have another one in Palmer, who's 7. So wide spectrum. I'm an attorney in town, and excited to have you on. And Sam makes the best half moves I've ever had, so if we want to have a little bake-off, we could work that out.
We're happy to participate.
That's right. Is it odd that the thing you said that most resonated with all the board members is baking?
Well, again, thank you very much. We appreciate having you, and she will have a listing of all the board members if she wants to reach out. We have that listing and stuff, so feel free to reach out with questions. And again, your first official meeting will be July 14th. That must have been what I was thinking about when I said.
July 14th.
Which will be our regular meeting, you'll be sworn in at that time, okay?
So that'll start at 5 o'clock, and so if your parents want to be here, as Mr. Jenkins mentioned, you're gonna read a statement and you'll be sworn in, and it's a good opportunity for photos, and maybe family will want to record that for you. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess, well, we've had all the fun, guys, so I guess now we have to do the goals. We can't avoid it any longer, you think?
Motion to adjourn.
So, do you want me to start with the summary, or do the detail first and then?
What do you think? Should we start with a summary, or yeah, start with summary.
So I pulled those up. I know the board's had a chance to look at some of the changes that we have proposed making. Certainly open for additional feedback as we navigate forward into the district goals. You'll notice with the summary, we have the 4 areas: creating optimal educational experiences, health and safety, fiscal responsibility, and ongoing communication. And these all tie in directly to our strategic plan. So if you have suggestions.
Shall we go down one by one? So the first one, creating optimal education experiences. You move down just a little bit. There you go. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right there. I couldn't see the top. Thoughts on that one? The only thing I was wondering about on this one is that I think we endeavor to see academic improvement year over year over year. And we don't really have an acknowledgement to that in there.
So maybe we could add that all students and staff have access to expanded learning opportunities, comma, improved academic performance or academic success or something to that effect, and cutting edge technology to fit the needs of all students. Just a proposal for,
Yeah.
somebody else can wordsmith it.
No, that's okay.
I feel like I like the goal. I like that the technology, we're really focusing on giving opportunities and all that, but I think the overall, I don't know, I want to say like metric or outcome is how does this relate to improving, you know, whether it be in a review fashion or just everything we're doing hopefully will help focus in on academic achievement improvement year over year. You know what I mean? Like I don't want, I think it makes sense to say what we're trying to say here, but somehow incorporate, we'd like to see that academic focus as well, but not take away from everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think those, honestly, Luke, I think those things that are already a part of that paragraph all lend themselves to year-over-year measurable improvement in academics, right?
Yeah.
Like having more opportunity, having cutting edge technology. But I think to Vic's point, we're actually not saying that. We gotta say that too, right?
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't say we're gonna measure that, or we're gonna look at the
Yeah.
output, yeah.
so maybe adding that
Separate
sentence,
sentence,
like,
or, yeah.
with measurable improvement year over year in academic achievement, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Something like that.
Or if you were to put it up front, well, since school district, Board of Education will create an academic environment of continuous achievement or continuous advancement, where all of these things would be elements. I don't know.
No, I kind of like the summary of with measurable performance of academic outcomes each year. Like, 'cause it takes everything we're doing and it just summarizes it
To this end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you. And it does touch on one of my other things. I just think we should be very cognizant of spending a lot of board time on student outcomes. And we spend so much time on just regular business, ongoing business. And I just think we really ought to focus on student outcomes. And then when they're good, applaud that, and when they aren't, ask what measures are being taken.
Diagnose them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Does that look okay, or do you want thoughts?
I guess the only, just a little thing that's sticking on the back of my head. I obviously know the definition of optimal, only when optimal in this context is how would we measure for optimal?
What did you say now? Up here at the top, so that, those are all tied from the strategic plan.
Yeah,
So
those are
that, those
strategic
are
plan.
headers from that, which, when you look at all of the pillars that we have, the 10 pillars, within each of those 10 pillars that fall within those 4 areas, or grouped within those 4 areas, you're gonna then have specific measurable, objectives for each of those pillars.
So those are the measurements for optimal.
Correct. Yep. Does that look okay? Do you wanna?
Very long sentence.
It's a very long sentence. What we can do is if there's a way to, we'll
Let's
double
use
check
a
it,
little bit to
we'll
check it out.
further to have this piece emphasized. If there's any change, we'll just put it in the Friday letter and have you weigh in, before the real meeting. What about health and safety?
I was just wondering on this one, I mean, I think it's excellent that we talk about the social and emotional support for all students. Is there more to safety? You know, we talk about more things related to
Safety
safety.
part.
And I just wasn't sure if there was a reason we emphasize this or.
I was gonna mention too, like, there's a lot about health, but I don't see the safety
Yep.
side of this one.
So the previous summary of the goal tied to the first year we did this, the physical safety. really
Ah,
good.
right.
And so now we've kind of shifted because we've met that, or not that we still aren't addressing that, but I think we certainly could add that piece in there. We'll continue to evolve social and emotional support as well as physical.
Right, safety.
Safety to meet the needs of all students.
So when I first read this, when I read it a little bit ago, I thought, student chess, but what about staff? Shouldn't we say staff too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and maybe just putting in that, you know, as well as continue to focus on the safety of students and staff within the district, like, because I agree, we've met our goals and we've done a lot on the safety side, but I don't want it to seem, I know we're not, where we've lost focus of that physical safety part and what we wanna do day in and day out to protect those in our district.
And I think that's an evolving issue each year, so maybe, you know, some sense to show that we're gonna stay vigilant or we're gonna continue to focus on. I think you're saying it there.
Does that do that with that, those 2 words added, or do you want us to expand that further?
Is that
Yeah, I
okay,
think so.
guys? Yeah.
I think so, cause the evolve applies to both, the social, emotional, we're gonna continue to evolve as pertains to physical safety.
So is it as well as physical safety, comma? No.
Renee's the English person.
No.
Oh, it's not updating on my screen. I keep thinking it's updating on my screen and it's not. Yeah. I'm okay without the comma.
Are we okay to move on to fiscal responsibility? Suggestions for improvement here?
to say, I was gonna add Tiffany Turner will be responsible for all fiscal responsibility. You don't
Well, that's a
think
given.
Okay.
Can we just put a photo of you? It makes us all feel safer.
So, we talk about the, you know, the enhancement, I never liked this, funding improvements and building a future, but we don't talk about the ongoing operating budget and how we need to be fiscally responsible to the community. And I almost think, you know, we would endeavor to be one of the lowest costs per student, just, or does that say the wrong thing? You say we would endeavor to be one of the lowest cost per student districts in the county. Or does that act like you're skipping? I don't know, but.
Yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
act like you're skipping, and it's also about our investment strategy and, you know, a whole host of things. So it really is about being good stewards of the public funds, you know?
That's more like, yeah, so that we will continue to be good stewards of public and state monies, I guess.
Yeah.
Say both that.
Or just say public money.
Public funds. And you want to say, and promote, something about promote efficiency and proper budgeting. Promote efficiency.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers.
How about promote efficiencies and appropriate resourcing or appropriate resourcing of the district's goals or something like that to show that, you know.
Allocate, he said.
Yeah.
allocate.
Yeah.
Promote efficiencies and set appropriate allocation.
You could take out that second and after
Yeah,
funds,
yeah.
right, just put a comma.
And this may be a preference and have nothing to do with good writing, but I think I would end it with, to be good stewards of public funds. Like the district will continue to promote efficiencies and appropriate allocations of resources and be good stewards of public funds.
Yeah.
Not better than you restart it, right?
Okay, we'll continue to promote efficiency better. To be considered. Word.
Promotion
Comma
runoff.
there.
There you go.
Good.
Man, corrected it for us. Thank you.
What about ongoing communication?
So the thought I had here is that it's not only at school functions, it's in the community. Visibility at school and community functions. Oh, good, good.
You know, I'm just wondering, is it only increasing our visibility or by encouraging, you know, stakeholders to communicate with us? I'm not quite sure how that happens, but I mean, certainly at meetings and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's not just us communicating with the
Yeah.
community, it's the community communicating with us.
We're seeking new avenues of feedback and
Do you think it
communication.
says that?
We'll continue to promote collaboration.
So you're looking to invite feedback, something like
Yeah,
that, right?
I think.
Collaboration. Well, we can say continue to promote and encourage collaboration, cooperation, and communication.
By increasing outreach.
Yeah, maybe it's by ending with visibility at school functions, it makes it sound like we're doing all those things before to increase our visibility. It's not, right?
Right.
It's,
So we can
they're
move
all
on.
separate and distinct.
Board of Education will.
I almost think that increasing, visibility at school functions is almost the how, not the goal. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I think you're
Okay.
right. I think you're right.
So we can just take that out.
Yeah, so I don't even know that we need that, but that could be one of the things we do to increase outreach and
Yeah.
communication and visibility, you know?
We'll continue to promote collaboration, cooperation, communication, and increase outreach, participation, and visibility, or no, and,
Could be, yeah.
well, that's what we, okay.
That's, yeah.
Uh,
It could just be,
It could just end outreach, participation, and engagement.
yeah.
The school community.
Yeah.
Does that look okay? So we'll get the summary finalized, and again, if we have to tweak that first one, we'll put it in the Friday letter. Then if we shift to the goals, again, these are just expansions, more specific, objectives related to those areas that were just identified. So you'll notice what we did was we highlighted in yellow where there was a change because we either accomplished a goal or we're moving on to the next goal within the strategic plan. Specifically, the expanding available learning opportunities, including enrichment programs for the needs of all students. So that's the next tenet that was ranked by our community as next in line to address. So that portion is directly from the strategic plan. Some of the goals, I know Andrew mentioned it, agenda planning, this one with the maintain no less than 65% of students will receive a Region 1 with advanced nation. The one thing that he mentioned would be a good part for the conversation today was the fact that the state's moving away. So we should probably denote that in some fashion. While it's, kids can get the advanced diploma now, and they will also next year, that's obviously gonna be phased out, so, adding some type of language at the end of that, while that option is still available, or something to that effect. I don't know if anybody has other language.
So have you guys all had input on this too, or, so jump in with thoughts?
Yeah, so we chatted about it. Danielle and I specifically were taking a look at this. So we, first of all, looked to see, we didn't hit our goal this past year, and this year, it looks like we're hitting at about 57% achieving an advanced designation. And so we, actually this morning, Danielle pulled up the state trends over the last few years. So it looks like the state is also trending down in that area. So in 21-22, the state was at 42%, in 22-23, 36%, and in 24-25 was, or 23-24, excuse me, 33%. So they went from 42 to 36 to 33. So that's kind of where we're trending. The other thing that I pulled out of my mailbox today that you all get, right, is we're thinking that what we're starting to see, this issue is all dedicated to our BOCES programs, and if you've had a chance to look through what's available across the state, I think you're starting to see this shift that the state has been talking about, and businesses have been talking about, is that, you know, our kids can still be career ready by choosing some of these pathways that aren't necessarily college. So I think we might be seeing some of that, and we know that our BOCES seats are consistently filled every year, and as a matter of fact, we have some wait lists that, you know, sometimes our kids can't get into programs because BOCES doesn't have enough instructors for all the students that, you know, want to take those programs. So I think we're starting to see that, and, you know, we could potentially keep the goal at 65%, maybe modify it saying knowing until the state moves to one diploma, we can eliminate it, knowing that we're headed in that direction anyways, or just leave it alone.
Do you have the same data for the county versus, so I understand the state,
Yeah.
the state is so diverse.
Yeah.
It's harder for me to really grasp measures of our data to the state. But now the county, we know, is somewhat synonymous with what we do, if you cut out the city schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So-
I saw Danielle shaking her head no over there. I'm not sure if we'd have to go online to the state ed website and
We
look
would
up
need-
each district individually to get that
It'd be
data.
pretty hard to do that.
Well, it's
I
not
have
hard,
a
we
file
could do
for
that.
it, I just need to process the data.
Yeah, we don't have the ability to pull it up right
Yeah,
today,
no,
but we
I-
can pull that data, and I do agree with you that, I think that's what we compared ourselves, at least in the data accountability review that we did back in April, provided the board with additional, information with the breakdown, with our local schools and in the state as well, so you can do that.
Do you think, Renee, the trend is just people aren't valuing it because maybe they anticipate the state change? And what you're talking about, I think maybe the value, I remember when it was like, kind of like a big deal, you gotta get a Regents diploma as opposed to local. I don't think anyone thinks that way anymore. So the value of it maybe has gone down because they know the state's changing and or they just don't see the need.
So I don't think that the general public is really paying attention to the one diploma yet. I mean, they hear about it, but it's not impacting them until it needs to impact them. I do think that there is this general sense that, you know, parents are more open to and students are more open to having CTE experiences outside of their districts. And, you know, I would say BOCES is one of the best kept secrets in the region and across the state, because I think we have this old time view of what a BOCES program was like when I was in school 40 years ago, right? And it's just not that anymore. There's so many opportunities, and this is such a really rich example of what's offered across the state that students can have access to. And I do think we talk more and more in our classes with students about the realities of, you know, going to college and, you know, student debt, and there are students that, you know, they don't want to be burdened with that and may be looking for other ways to get through.
So I'll ask a tough question. So students probably don't have much of a sense of this trend, right? They're not paying attention to it, they have information
Yeah.
about teaching state or anything like that. Parents might have, you know, they might read an article every now and then, or
Mhm.
might know something about it. So the tough question is, I'm wondering, so teachers are very attuned to it, and I'm wondering if there's any sense that maybe they're changing their emphasis, and maybe that's what trends maybe we can have.
I think part of the programming that we offer, even though it's like a CTE hands-on, but our engineering programs, I mean, those kids are, you know, going to get some really good jobs when they're done with those programs, and or they'll be able to go on to a 2-year, or they can go right into the workforce, or they could go on to a 4-year. So I think, you know, our teachers are recruiting hard for their programs, and because they're passionate about them.
You
And the way the advanced diploma is right now, you have to pass all of these Regents examinations.
Yes.
And we have students that are choosing to take other pathways, even if it is the engineering pathways that we have within our school, or the CT programs that are at our OCs. So we do see, I mean, I think we can attribute some of that decrease to those students making those choices.
Yeah, so, thanks for pointing that out. I think you're absolutely right. I think schools are changing all the time, and the focus of what education is supposed to be is changing all the time. I think it's really important that we added, if we go back to that first goal, where we talk about measurable outcomes, I think it's really important that we pay attention to the fact that the measurable outcome might be different for different groups of kids. And we need to pay attention and value the fact that those outcomes are all important to the different groups of students that we have. Because I think sometimes we get caught up in our metric being how many students pass the Regents, whereas there are other students that are having optimal educational experiences, but that's just not how it would be effective to monitor how they're doing. And so I think we as a group need to pay attention to that as we move forward. Because you're right, it's changing. I mean, 4 years ago, think about how, actually when you think about it, how much has school in many ways changed in the last 4 years in terms of the structures? We really haven't changed all that much. But actually, think about the difference in the kids in society, the difference of things. So the idea that it's actually taking that sort of that path makes sense. I think it would be smart to be on top of it. So thanks for pointing it out.
So I'm just typing here, demonstrate continuous improvement when examining a variety of outcomes.
As opposed to the 65%.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's important too, but I think we have to make sure that if we're going to be inclusive, we have to make sure that we are taking into consideration the needs and the paths that the different students are taking, and not valuing one over the next. Placing the same amount of praise and emphasis on students that take a different path and are successful.
I'll point out that some of the PBL measures that we're going to be introducing may, already satisfy some of the things that we're looking to do, which is, increasing the number of students who are earning our seals, monitoring the growth of student participation in our CTE programs, and using the 24-25 data to, as our baseline. And let's see what that looks like from year to year. So those are some things that our goals are, that we're already introducing into the new measures for PBL. So you might already have some things in the books for us to be on the lookout for that you're okay with.
So there may be some other things more worth saying than 65% of students passing the Regents exam. I don't know.
So we can list a few of those other in that bullet that I just added. Even if it's in parentheses, we can list some of the other seals or endorsements or measures.
Yep.
So goal 2 didn't really change. That's the continuation of the project-based learning, because that's a 5-year rollout. So as far as what you see there, so we can add different measures or objectives, but that's.
Yeah, so one of the things that I noticed going through here, I noticed in the first one too, it's kind of tied to that, this definition of optimal. We should make sure that what we're setting as goals are actually goals. So, for example, I'm just going back to goal 1, enable core academic excellence by providing rigorous instruction. I think we're doing that already all the time, right? And so, I don't know if that first word should be enable, because I can do that. I'm wondering if it should be something else like advance or enhance or something that at least approaches a measurable.
I like
Maximize, that works. And in goal 2, kind of the same thing. The first bullet there is increase student achievement. I'm assuming that that's just baked in, right? and I'm not trying to be critical, I'm not trying to nitpick, I'm just saying, I think that's something that ought to be in the genetics of every teacher and every TA and every cafeteria worker and everybody we've got. And I'm not sure that we're saying anything with these things. Is I guess what I'm not sure what that actually means. I can pour a lot of great meaning into it myself, but talking to a parent and I say, we're gonna increase student achievement, and they ask me what that means, I'd like for the board to have some sort of language that I can hang on to, that actually gives that a little more muscle, I guess.
So do you have a suggestion?
I do not.
Whatever pathway a student is gonna take, we wanna make sure that they are, achieving their potential. But how we get there, I mean, I think down the road, we're gonna have a lot of different ways to measure a lot of different pathways. And it might be a little bit harder to pigeonhole measurement for the district.
Yes, you did.
Prioritize.
Prioritize instead of increase?
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I was thinking that, focus on the enhancement or prioritization where, it's built into what we do every day, but you're not just painting with that broad brush of, yeah, we want to increase it. I think just focusing on what we do every day, it's good to state, but, you're not diving into tying into a metric. Specifically when we're looking at 95% achievement, 65% for regions, if we're prioritizing achievement, right below it lists all the CTE and all the other opportunities that every individual student could be marked as achievement. So I like what Edie's prioritize kind of really focuses on more of what we do and just acknowledging it.
What if you put the word enhancing, prioritize enhancing student achievement?
The only thing with, just to play the other side, with prioritize, it makes it seem like we're not doing that. And then.
That's a phone I was gonna take with a couple of the other.
Yeah, so, I think we do prioritize student achievement, but at the same time.
Well, you can say continue to, we do it every day.
Maintain, the idea is, that's the
Yeah.
tricky thing about the school, kids, every year you get a different group.
Yeah.
And so, actually, the maintenance of student achievement is a future start. It's tough to compare year to year, because it's different kids. Not comparing widgets here.
Maintain high levels of student achievement.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is it?
What about support policies and practices that foster academic excellence? Certainly that's within the board's purview.
For where?
For that one that everybody was just talking about, sorry. We were looking for ways to reword, prioritize student achievement.
Can you read that one more time?
Support policies and practices that foster academic excellence.
What's that coming from?
Tiffany's.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you want me to change this to that? You want me to change this to that? Or put both?
What's academic excellence?
I think it depends on your audience.
Exactly. So,
Student achievements may be a little bit
The audience here
broader.
is the board,
Yeah.
right?
Achievement.
But I agree with your point, and I think it's important to say in context, right? In context of whatever student we're talking about, program we're talking about, whichever parent we're talking to, right, whichever staff person.
So it's maintain and support, but.
Yes. Excellence is really defined by which student or students you are, you're educating at that moment, right? Excellence for one student might be defined this way, excellence for another student might be defined a completely different way. But in both cases, in any case, I think excellence is something that we ought to be, we can say that we ought to be putting policies and procedures in place for. But you're right, we're gonna get to a point, right? You get down you get granular enough, and it becomes a little bit difficult to establish, sort of a measurable for, you can't, to your point, you can't have a generic measurable for all students across the board.
Well, and I'm not sure we can maintain, but we can support practices that do promote.
Remember, these are district and board goals. Because we take these and then, they're one and the same in this case.
And hopefully you hear all kinds of things when administration reports to the board, right? When we're asking questions, how are we doing that, right? With this group of kids or that group of kids. Hopefully we're hearing all kinds of crazy things. And I don't even think we should try to put that up.
So do you want, are we okay with that as is, or do you want me to adjust that further?
I'd like that policy, that language.
Policies and practices.
Policies and practices, in other words, yeah.
Yes.
I think we ought to do that, support policies and practices that maintain high levels of student achievement.
Okay. Other changes to that one?
Is 80 the same as this year, or is that a new number? Do we need to increase?
So
Lesson
we,
plans.
yes, that's a good point. We do need to modify that.
So the goal.
A minimum of 80 problem-based projects learning units would be great. So we need to update that.
Yeah, so if the goal is that teachers who implemented this year, they're gonna be reworking those, refining those, and the goal would be for them to create another one. So we've set up for this summer, for the people that went through the PBL 101, and they've implemented a project this year, that they have time this summer to refine that project for next year, and then give them time to begin a second PBL unit.
And then we have new people starting.
And then we have a new cohort of folks coming in.
So is it safe to say that we have a minimum of 200 problem-based projects or learning units? If everyone who created one has to create another one, and then we have a new cohort of people coming on, that's
I'm trying-
160 plus 40.
Yeah.
As a percent, once you get people trained this year, as a percent of teachers, how many people will have gone through?
We had about 70 last year. I think we're close to 30 this year. So, we've got a ways to go. But
And that's why this is 5-year. This
Yep.
one's will not go away until we're done with creating a strategic plan, just based on that. Like, it takes to do this work right. Good with that one, 2 to 3. So again, 3 is a new goal tied to that pillar.
Jill, just above 3, we still have the 65 25%
Oh.
of students who receive regents
Yeah, I
diploma,
got it.
do we take that out
I think
or just leave it there?
we can either take it out or we can add that language that we put until the state transitions to one diploma.
Oh.
It was there too, I guess.
Yeah, you're gonna have it down farther
Yeah,
too.
there's a couple of them.
Second
And
bullet.
I have it right here. Got it. Okay, so goal 3 then. So this was all new.
I'm sorry, can I just jump back for 1 second? And under number 2, we've got increased number of students earning those sealants and grants and sealant biliteracy.
Yeah.
We had some triliteracy this year, but under the,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that
So
is.
the state doesn't have a seal of triliteracy, so that's really within a district that, when we have a student that gets 3 or more languages, then, our goal is to recognize those students. They don't have, or in district, the state doesn't have a medal for triliteracy.
So they'll get the seal of biliteracy,
Yes.
but we will recognize them with an additional
Yep.
recognition in some fashion if they didn't try.
Yep.
See if that makes sense.
Sorry, didn't correct.
Any issues with 3 or suggested edits?
Well, you could take out your measure of capital project, though. Isn't that 3? Yeah, fiscal. Yes, successful capital project for
Wait.
2024, 2025 school year.
That's not the right one.
Oh, it's a measure.
Right.
Oh, mine.
Still under,
one?
yes,
Oh,
it's the,
excuse me.
we're on the,
I'm sorry.
we're right here.
No, that's-
Oh, this is last year's.
Yes, last year's.
This is.
So isn't that 3 for this one?
No, no.
Oh, you did.
It's
You
further
took it
down.
out. You took
It's
it
further
out.
down.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm reading. If they're going on goal 3.
Goal 3 is about the technology systems.
Sure, continue to access the state.
I feel like that's worded well.
The second one under goal 3, I don't know how I feel about the future-proof the district network for scalability. I don't know how I feel about future-proof. I mean, maybe like modernize or something like that, but I don't know. That just
What,
feels.
what you're saying is be sure that the network can be expanded easily, is that what you're saying?
Modernize. That's fine.
Future. Future.
Or future ready.
Be prepared for the future. I don't know. Just feels weird.
Or prepare, I mean. Modernize, you said modernize, it doesn't matter.
I mean, prepare sounds good, I guess. I don't know.
What's AI say for that, future?
Forward, compatible, sustainable, scalable, resilient, long-lasting, adaptable, enduring, ready.
So we already have scalable and adaptable in the.
Oh, modernize and then change the demand of modern technologies, like for growing demand of the future or something like
The
that.
district network, future technology.
Whoa.
Growing demand of
Future.
new
Growing demand
technologies.
in the future.
Future or growing
Future.
oh, we got growing in there, so
Future
future.
technologies.
Okay.
Future-proof technologies.
goal. You know, the goal is all about technology and the measures are general measures of academic achievement. So did we mean something different when we established those goals?
So when the strategic plan was put into play, the discussion really related around the idea that you can't separate technology from instruction and from student achievement. So that's why you see some similarities in the accountability measure portion of it. And we have a technology plan that is supposed to be doing all those things, and instead of saying, suppose we could say one measure is that we've, followed whatever's within the plan.
Right, I feel like,
So
that you
there's a
can ensure
technology
there's a
specific.
technology plan that meets all of those characteristics and that it's appropriately resourced, something like that.
Could we say anything about like the network reliability or like safety stuff? Because I know RJ's always talked about that and BOCES talks about that, and I don't know.
You know what's interesting, the way that this is developed? It almost seems like the goals are the measures and the measures are the goals in this one.
For this one?
Yeah, like the measures are a little bit more about general academic achievement, and the way that we're achieving that is through keeping our technology modern and providing. And I'm not trying to totally mess it up, but that's just what it does kind of, because they don't relate, it seems like the measures.
So I think, because ultimately, we're utilizing technology, but remember the goal is that we're preparing students to be competitive in college and or career.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not a just infrastructure technology goal, but we can probably add something here under a measure to adjust the technology plan. So if you're okay with me just writing the technology
Yeah.
plan. And then we can put that in the Friday letter and you can give us the blessing and we'll know to do that. In fact, I will move that. Red. Goal 4, with health and safety. Now, this is directly related to some of the work that Eldon is also doing as part of their, the plan that they're on to meet the continuous improvement with the state. So this really aligns closely to that.
I think one thing we need to add to this goal in a bullet is just the continued focus on student, staff, and building safety, because we added that. And it's just something, a lot of it is supporting all the things, but just something that really continue to focus on that.
So I'm just gonna write student
Safety,
and
physical safety.
staff. Physical. We can.
Might going up a little bit, Joe?
Yeah, but no, you're right. Nothing physical. You're right.
I get, one more, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'll go and stuff.
What does the last bullet mean? Demonstrate continuous improvement when examining discipline referral trends. What does that mean?
Fewer.
Oh, fewer referrals. Oh, okay.
So part of that's, because things are gonna happen, right? Every group of students is different, but, looking at it on a case-by-case basis, the goal is we just don't want people not submitting referral.
Right.
But at the same time, we wanna be adjusting referrals and ultimately proactively addressing the behavior in a way that restores or makes, right the action so they don't do it again.
I see.
And I think if we say fewer, in many cases, it's easily accomplished that, because some people won't submit.
Just won't do it,
referral.
yeah.
And we don't wanna say that.
Right.
Can I just-
I understand.
We also want to focused on in trainings, and a lot of the things we do is we're being sensitive to referrals that are written for marginalized groups or at-risk students, and that we're being culturally aware, like a student with a disability, for example, who is engaging in a behavior that might be a manifestation of their disability. We want to make sure we're providing education. You know, if there's some sort of other risk factor, like their needs aren't met at home, are we doing other things to support those things before we just write a referral? And that we're writing a referral, but we're also addressing those things. That's kind of the piece of that as well, to reduce that.
I just a thought on the language of goal 4. So we're focusing on on supporting skills for academic success, and then at the end, the reason for that is to create a learning environment that's safe and secure. But there's more of a reason. It's not just about safety; it's about academic being effective.
Safe, secure, and effective.
And effective. Like, it's not just about being safe; it's actually about the students achieving success in those academic areas. So the word effective seems an important part of the goal. Beyond just
safe, secure, and effective.
Yeah.
I was actually just sitting here wordsmithing something in my head. That line, focus on supporting skills for academic success, and the parentheticals there. I like that language for the first goal as well, except I would change what's in the parenthetical to things like critical thinking, analysis, discussion, debate, writing, kind of basics for academic success, right? Take this language, right, that theme, and include that in goal 1 as well.
So after opportunities, or right here, the goal number 1, or are you referring to the summary? Because the summary was that was the discussion.
Second page,
We
yeah.
had it in the, we had that discussion on the summary document where we list the critical thinkers, communicators, collaborators, etc.
Yeah.
So do we need to put it here?
I don't know. It can go anywhere.
Because really,
But it's-
the way the summary is designed is so that everything under creating optimal educational experiences. So if you take goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, they should cover. They should cover all of those pieces that we've aligned in the summary, which they do. We talk about in some way, shape, or form, critical thinkers, communicators, collaborators, increasing the academic performance, recognizing individual student needs.
I was just thinking of this as the lighthouse right there.
We can have them.
But that's not essential. I just like that. I like pulling the theme through there, especially since goal 1 is about academic competence.
So let me do that. So let me copy that, and then what I'll do under goal 1 is just do this. Whoops. I'll make it red. We can wordsmith that for your voice. So other suggestions for 4?
Yeah, I actually have a question. Maybe a comment. In the second bullet there, it says expand the spectrum of extracurricular experiences and enrichment opportunities to increase student participation and create global citizens for our future. Is that
So that was taken right from the strategic plan. That was part of the mission and vision is to, create global citizens to prepare. And so that probably doesn't need to be in there. That just literally was verbatim
Okay.
when we pulled it. So that's
And then I would also suggest, and again, this is just the 2 cents. The idea of expanding the spectrum of extracurriculars is awesome. But I also think we need to pay attention to the accessibility of the extracurricular activities that are already in place.
Yeah.
So maybe figuring out ways, and I know when we talk about like IEPs, that's actually written in students' IEPs where they, they can have support in extracurricular kinds of activities with the law. But the idea of making things more accessible, I don't 100% know how you do that, but to me, for being inclusive, I think that's really important to pay attention to. That if we're going to be inclusive, there should be accessibility.
Yeah.
So I mean, doesn't mean that your kids are going to take advantage of everything, but and then my second point was, what's that? Yeah, but also make it so that it's, you know what I mean?
Like, do they know
Accessible,
that
yeah.
there's supports in place so that they can participate? So,
Never done it. Anyways, and then the last part of the second, my comment was when it says use available data and staff resources to proactively identify students' social, emotional, and academic needs. I would also put strengths in there, right? Because I think we use the idea is to identify students' strengths and build on those strengths, and then provide supports to, for their needs.
Yeah, I like that.
But the idea is we need to pay more attention to what the kids are good at.
Yeah.
And provide support there instead of always.
Leverage those
And
strengths.
I think this, in our district, we do a really good job of that. I think as a, being ready, that's important.
So I addressed that one, expanding the spectrum and accessibility of extracurricular experiences, and then I just added needs and strengths. Goal 5 didn't really change, except a few of the measures were updated. The fiscal responsibility one. Is there other areas? One of the things that we change, because we don't have to establish a committee, we do want to have some type of committee though looking at school start and end times. Because one of the things we talked about when we were doing the reconfiguration in the Fund Improvements and Living the Future plan, what we communicated was over time that we would be having discussions and then, coming to the board with some potential adjustments that it would be nice to have that work done next year so that when we are ready to make the transition, people have a year or 2 or 3 in order to prepare for a potential change. It could be drastic, we don't know. But it would be drastic if we're changing secondary, having those students come in later and elementary go in earlier. I think that is all. We need time to prepare for that. The last one, was the communication. I don't know if we say at visibility of school, you probably want school communication with new functions.
We just want to always be cognizant of exploring anything that's new here, right? And do, like you said, they need to be a way to welcome feedback.
If this looks okay right now, we can make those few edits, we'll put it in the Friday letter, and then you'll have time to marinate over that for at least a week or 2 before we have to, put it on the agenda and adopt it on July 14th. Perfect. So I think the next thing we had listed here was the committee assignments, and I do have that here in Word, so how you saw those.
So, I guess, let's start, so, it looks like listed by first choice, and let's go down to facilities. We have 1, 2, 3, well, we have 4 first choices there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is that okay with Wayne, Sam, Tom, and Victor. Okay.
I mean, I can do something else if other people want that, I don't mind.
Well, it's everybody else's second choice, so just trying to give everybody possible their first choice. Okay, so that would be, and then keep in mind, the second part of that is that once the committee meets, we would select, well, maybe I'll throw this out the board. Does somebody want to volunteer, because we want, remember, we want a board member as the chair of each of these committees. So does somebody want to volunteer to be the chair now, or would you prefer for the facilities committee to meet and choose the chair? I think that's a great, meet and choose a chair, okay? That's fine. Okay. Okay, so that was the easy one. And then,
Nobody wants audit.
well, no, that's why we're doing that last,
Oh, I
Jess.
can stay on audit if you want me.
I think whoever didn't answer the question for audit should be avoided doing, so who we
Yeah,
missing on
somebody-
that list?
somebody tried to
We're
get out
missing
of
a
my
couple,
mind.
raise your hand,
Question.
that's all.
There's a first choice, a second choice.
What's that?
Okay,
Sorry.
so policy is the one conflict we have, because we have five first choices, right?
Correct.
Have Christie and
Yeah.
Don and Andrew and Jeremy and Luke.
I can stay on audit if you, if you want me to.
Well, you're gonna stay on audit regardless. And is there anybody there that,
I figured I would just mix it
How
up.
many are
a
we having
little.
on each committee?
Four. Yeah, four. So I know Luke's into policy, so I assume you'd like to do that.
I mean, obviously, you know, if I was first choice, I think it'd be great. I'd love to participate on it directly. I was facilities the last two.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, truthfully, I'll fill wherever the need is, but, I mean, if I could, I'd love it, but.
So is there anybody else volunteering to step aside, or is, I guess, Christie's the one taker?
Hanging on to audit.
So, I was gonna say, Christie, then, I guess by default.
No,
you get-
that's, I shouldn't say it like
You
that.
get to chair the audit committee.
You're so nice.
All right.
Okay, so, looking at audit then,
So, just so I'm clear, if Christie's
so it would be.
coming off policy, then Don, Andrew, Jeremy, and Luke.
Yep, is that it, guys?
I like that.
And then these four facility.
And then.
Policy, or excuse me, audit would be.
Audit is Christie.
Christie.
Sole audit.
She gets to
You can
pick
pick
everyone
your
who's
own.
gonna be with her.
So definitely Christie.
Okay, who else has a?
So two second choices were Victor and Sam.
Sam? Well, you
You
were on
guys,
audit, weren't you?
come on.
No, I'll stay on audit.
Yeah, okay, Sam's good. And
I mean,
what
if
about,
somebody else wants it, I
uh,
don't care.
guess we got a couple, so we could do,
I don't think Andrew's on anything yet, so maybe.
oh,
He's on policy.
Andrew's on
Oh,
policy.
is he on policy?
Yeah,
Oh.
was his first choice. Goodness gracious, he made audit the third choice, how could you do that?
Now, I know there's some of the other committees that aren't as required, cause I was hoping to get on safety.
You can do that, all
You're
you
gonna,
gotta do is
you're gonna
volunteer.
get those, yeah,
So I don't wanna volunteer for a second of the meetings.
That's fine,
optional.
yeah, that's absolutely fine, yeah.
So you wanna strike through here.
If you could, yeah, just black it
I mean,
out.
You
there's
don't wanna be on audit, Jeremy, come
I don't even-
on.
I can't even help. my
Everybody's
kids.
making Tiffany feel
Bad
bad.
work in fifth grade.
So
I would do
Tiffany
audit,
makes it
again.
easy.
Okay, I would do audit. So there's a four, there it is, there's a four.
Christie's
Done.
chair.
But we gotta be approved by Christie, so what, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everybody have at least one then?
Yep.
Everybody got at least one, and then, yeah, that's a good point, do you wanna talk about the other committees?
Yeah, so, as soon as the possibly by the end of this week, might not be until the Friday letter after that, we will have the dates and times of the district committees, which the board is certainly welcome to be a part of. Those
No more
committees. So
than
safety,
4.
code of conduct, motor theory. We'll list all those. I didn't want to put it in the Friday letter though until we had the actual dates of when they're going to hold the meetings, so that you can, in case that makes a difference.
And those would be, well, obviously, safety, technology, wellness, code of conduct,
Professional development or professional learning.
Is that all?
Those are the
DEI,
bigger ones.
inclusivity.
DI.
Okay. So let me just save that.
So Joe, when that list comes out, we just let you know?
Yeah, you can just let me know and then we'll,
Sorry. Is that more of a show up if you want to, or if you're on it, you're on it?
if you're on it, you're on it.
Okay, good. Yeah,
but
I didn't-
that's
But
the
it's
plan.
not like.
Most of them are virtual.
Yeah, it's gonna
Correct.
say
They are
virtual.
virtual, most of them are virtual.
Yeah, the district ones,
Oh, that makes
To
at
make
least
it
the
more convenient.
safety and the
So-
code of conduct I was on the last couple
And
times.
we have some changes coming to the safety one, which we're gonna make. Luke brought up a good recommendation about having some case studies
Yeah.
reviewed as a part of that, so Tiffany's already talked to our safety officer and, Rick and those that, help lead that work. And, that's gonna be something that we have as a new addition.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it's not a mandatory, but it is a very good learning experience. You learn a lot, like the safety, I didn't attend every meeting, but they're very informative to what's going on. And a lot of that was transportation related, and grounds related and stuff, and inspections of various kinds. So,
I also think that they, at least I got the vibe, that they were appreciative of the fact that we were a part of the committee and participating.
Yeah, no, I think it shows that you value the work.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that we actually, want to care.
Which we know you do.
okay, well, given that, I guess we are ready to adjourn the work session. And what we need to do is now go into our special meeting. So the June 16th Board of Education special meeting will come to order. And resolved that the Board of Education approve the agenda for the June 16th, 2025 special Board of Education meeting. Sam?
Second.
Tom? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. First order of business is the consent agenda. Resolve the Board of Education approve the consent agenda pursuant to the attached. Second. Got Don, I got Luke. And do any discussion here you've been able to see? It's a pretty short one, but there's some appointments that we want to get on there. And I don't think is there anything else? The Aero Security Amendment was a minor.
Yeah, it just is extending the term,
Okay.
to continue another year. The actual, rates have not changed for at least this, July 1st through, December 31st. It could change in January, but we'll bring that back to you. But this allows us to continue with, that partnership. High school, that individual will work during the summer, to man the door, and they will be utilized at Ray Middle School when we have our summer enrichment camp.
Is this a position that we're still looking to fill like internally instead of with Arrow, or is this something we're gonna continue?
No, we'll continue with Arrow. It actually works out better, from a financial perspective and plus meeting civil service guidelines.
Okay.
We just couldn't find anybody that, and to be honest with you, the person that we have right now is a district resident, doing a great job. And, we've been happy with the partnership.
Let me get your dirt. Thank you.
That's okay, I'll do okay. So, any questions or discussion on that? Okay, we'll move to vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And the next order of business is the policy. So this is the first reading of the policies. That means we will vote on them at the next meeting in July. So is there any questions or discussion at this time on these policies?
Policies, so we did review these policies based on our conversation at the last board meeting. 2 are new policies related to laws, and then the other 2 are updates, minor updates to not conflict with current law because there were some changes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask that if these are all the new law mandate changes and additions that we knew were coming.
Yes.
The only discussion, I just wanted to like throw a seed out there for us to think about, and I didn't read it close enough yet, is I would love for us to leave as much space as possible for the enforcement of the electronic devices law. I get that New York State is mandating us to have it, but I would love for, and whatever, as much as the law would allow us to leave the enforcement of it as open as possible for our schools so that teachers have a spectrum by which to decide how they're going to enforce that. I would like the law to almost not exist in our enforcement. It's to the degree as we can enforce it as much as we decide. I don't know, I'm sure our language comports with the law, but to the degree the law allows us to give ourselves space.
It does give us flexibility. The code of conduct is what drives the decisions when it comes to consequences. I mean, this law is very specific to kids aren't going to get, suspended. I mean, that's not the purpose of this. Hopefully, they make good choices and choose not to utilize it. I know a lot of schools are looking to purchase pouches and things like that for students to put them in. I mean, things have worked fine at Derby this year. The motive, or I guess the philosophy we're taking is, why buy something new? They have lockers. Use what we have as opposed to invest. And not knowing, I know the governor set aside $14.5 million or something to that effect for purchasing of supplies. My understanding is you have to use it in order to get it. You have to show that you have proof of that purchase before you can get reimbursed. Until we see with that, I mean, there's no sense in buying anything special. If anything, maybe we could use it toward a few new lockers. Our portion, but that's kind of where it stands.
Yeah, I would agree with what you said, Jeremy. I think the key is whatever we decide has to be implemented consistently. I think that's where the rubber is the road. Is if whatever we decide is going to be the sort of the procedures and processes and guidelines are consistently implemented throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it starts. If you've got certain teachers that are not, and others that aren't, I just know from an education point of view, that's where things get sticky. So
The union, I will say, we've had meetings, we've had to meet with the association of the meetings tomorrow, we'll emphasize them again. I mean, they want that consistency too, because they don't want, it makes it very difficult when you have essentially staff putting each other against each other. It just doesn't work. And it sends the wrong message also to the students.
and to the community and to the parents.
So
You
they
may need
know
to be-
that.
You may need to be consistent within a school, but maybe school to school, because the age groups are a little different. too.
Absolutely.
You know?
There's, similar to what we've done in the past, obviously Derby's, experienced something new this year and it worked out well, and, there were some growing pains, there's gonna be growing pains likely at Baker. But we do have flexibility within the code of conduct, and, our staff, they know that, the expectation's consistent for them too. I mean, you can't be flaunting, your personal device when, even though they're adults and but there's not a need for it, during the school day, so they're aware of that.
Has the state communicated anything about that? About what's the expectation
these will appear on July 14th for approval.
Okay, moving to the next item. Resolve the Board of Education approve the awards of contract for the 2023 $63.9 million capital improvement project phase 2B. And this is for the Baker site bid pursuant to the attached and contingent upon successful completion of contract.
So
Sam?
moved. Sorry.
Jeremy? Can you just give us, 25 words or less, Tiffany?
Yes, so this was actually a rebid from the $63 million project for the site work at Baker, mainly the extension of the buses area and separate parking. When we bid it the first time, the architects and the construction management team thought the bids came in a little high and things could be clarified and we could benefit from a rebid, which we did. We saved approximately $500,000 by rebidding it.
That's great.
And we have 3 bidders, all competitive.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? Okay, move to vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And now, resolve the Board of Education, resolve the June 16, 2025 special Board of Education meeting be adjourned. Tom? I think I won't have a discussion here. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We take 5 minutes, and then we have an education work session. It'll just be an in-person. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Matt Man. You get essentially